Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we will be taking a brief look into the well-known triangular ley alignment, which at times has been referred to as the Bermuda Triangle of Britain, connecting Silbury Hill, Rudston Monolith and the Castlerigg Stone Circle. We'll be focusing our attention on the ley alignment, which just happens to pass through the Harbury Cutting and Chesterton, the locations you have seen in my previous two videos. I'll be decoding with clear and concise evidence the significance, purpose and functions of gateways on the Earth energy grid. On this Google Earth image, we can clearly see the triangular alignment through the centre of England, with the three megalithic locations at each point. It's worth pointing out that all 3 points of the alignment happen to be located in national parks, as you can see by the green text. Upon further investigation, it was apparent that national parks were not only at the 3 points. National parks also happen to be located all along the 3 leys, as well as within the entire triangle, as you can see from these images. To me, this triangular alignment is clearly connecting the majority of the country's national parks, with each of these parks serving as their own nodal energy point, feeding energy to this part of the circuit as well as to the other parts of the overall circuit. Let's start from the tip of the triangle with Silbury Hill in the south. I would like to say a special thanks to Jake for allowing me to use his drone footage. I'll be popping a link to Jake's channel in this video description. Silbury Hill is the largest prehistoric man-made mound in Europe and one of the largest in the world. Silbury Hill compares in height and volume to the great Egyptian pyramids. This mound is said to have been built about 2470 and 2350 BC by what is said to be the late Neolithic people. Silbury Hill is part of the Avebury World Heritage Site and a site of special scientific interest. From the 1970s, public access to climb the summit has been officially banned, so people can only now walk round its perimeter. The mound stands at 39.3 metres or 129 feet high and 160 metres or 525 feet wide. And it's said its construction is estimated to have involved about 4 million man-hours of work. It is said that 500,000 tonnes of material, mostly chalk, were used to create this mound. As you can see from the air, the mound resembles that of a woman's breast. Just like the Great Pyramid of Giza, this mound also has its fair share of shafts and tunnels, as you can see from these images. It is of my opinion that tunnels at these historical sites play an important role with the transfer of the telluric earth energies. Let's now move on to the northeast and look at the Redstone Monolith, followed by the Castlerigg Stone Circle.
Rudston, England. This ancient village in Yorkshire has been inhabited for more than 5,000 years, and several of its Neolithic structures are still standing, as well as a number of monoliths. But one towers above the rest.
The Rudston Monolith is the tallest standing stone in Britain. Currently, it is 25 feet in height, and it weighs 40 tons.
Some researchers say that the monolith was found at Caton Bay, which was about 10 miles from Rudston, and was carried up onto the hill. So the effort involved to try to lift this stone in an upright position is beyond imagination.
Archaeologists believe the Rudston Monolith dates back to at least 2500 BC. But some point to evidence that it could be far older.
Well, we know that people have lived nearby Rudston for over 11,000 years in the Mesolithic era, because there have been some fantastic excavations which have revealed the oldest house dwelling in the UK. So the Rudston Monolith could be as old as that.
If the Rudston Monolith really is 11,000 years old, that would mean it was transported and erected some 6,000 years before the invention of the wheel. And according to local historians, just as mysterious as the origins of the giant standing stone is the strange phenomena that have been observed in the area for centuries.
This particular area of the Wolds is known as the Bermuda Triangle of East Yorkshire, and there's a multitude of strange phenomena that people report. Strange lights and odd occurrences in the sky and on the ground.
We have reports of high strangeness in the region dating back to the 10th century. We have accounts of lights in the sky, intelligent life forms that seem to have a purpose and a will of their own.
People get electric shocks off the Rudston Monolith. They have altered states, experiences.
People claim to have seen green-skinned, fairy-like folk scuttling around the Rudstone.
Aerial phenomena are reported in that region. Lights in the sky, weird things that happen to electronic equipment, weird magnetic anomalies. So clearly, there is something going on there.
So you have to wonder, is the Rudston Monolith there because of all these strange effects, or perhaps the Rudston Monolith itself is helping create some of these effects?
But how could an ancient standing stone be the source of such unusual phenomena? Are Earth energies being amplified by the monolith, just like at Karnak? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes, and suggest there is far more to the Rudston Monolith than meets the eye.
So behind me here is Castlerigg Stone Circle, one of the most beautifully placed stone circles on the planet in my opinion. Surrounded by mountains, located in the Lake District area of Cumbria. It's one of many in the area. We have Swinside, Longmeg, we have the whole Shap complex and many others. And really this is, one of the most impressive, although it's actually one of the smallest, but it's a flattened A type circle. So it's one of the geometries that Alexander Thom decoded back in the 1950s. Also once had 3 cairns within it, 3 burial cairns. Only one kind of square area of that now remains. And according to early antiquarians, there was another stone circle in the area to this, so potentially in the same field, but that's now completely vanished. So we're going to have a look round. We're here with Andrew Collins and Giorgio Tsoukalas from America. He's over here for the Awakening UFO conference in Blackpool, so we're kind of showing him around for the day in the Lake District, and we're going to get their impressions. And there's also been some unusual stories about the whole strange lights and energies that have been recorded here. Now we've got some beautiful drone footage previously which I put up in the video. It's a bit cloudier today, but it was beautifully sunny when I came here a couple of years ago. And this is also where they found this sacred stone axe, and this is thought to actually be part of a whole trading route. Actually, an axe production area was located in this area going back to Neolithic and Bronze Age times. But anyway, let's have a quick look around the circle and see what the other guys think of it.
What we know is that in the 19th century, a member of the local gentry was walking along this road, and he started to see all these lights, suddenly appear, and he realised that they were over by the stones, and that they're actually manifesting in connection with the actual stone circle itself. And what this tells us is that this site would have been specifically chosen because of its connection with phenomena, basically, and that the location is not simply based upon the fact that all around us we can see these incredible hills. Many of the stones would seem to be aligned to them, and I suspect probably at particular times of the year, the solstices, the equinoxes, but that there's a special reason why it was actually here, and I think it's something to do with the geology. There's almost certainly a fault line, activity, quartz, all the rest of it, which is able to create exactly the right environment to not just manifest lights, but also to produce altered states of consciousness. In other words, the electromagnetic fields that will be generated are going to be affecting people.
Let's now focus our attention on the ley alignment connecting Silbury Hill to the Rudston Monolith. This ley just happens to be the one I mentioned in my previous two videos, connecting Chesterton to the Harbury cutting. As you can see on this Google Earth image, there is another ley that cuts through the triangle. The cross point of these two leys towards the east is the Harbury cutting. So if you haven't already watched this video, feel free to watch this afterwards to get a clearer understanding. I'll pop a link to this video in the description. I first came across this ley, which crosses a triangle, around 20 years ago, when I first began looking into leys and earth energies. This particular ley starts from Jerusalem, which at one time was considered to be the centre of the world and is believed to be one of the most powerful energy centres on the Earth grid, which connects directly to Warwick Castle, another energy centre just 7 miles from this cutting. Before we delve deep into the decoding of this crosspoint and uncovering its secrets and purpose as an energy gateway, let's start by taking a brief overview of Jerusalem, its importance, and take a look at its petrified giant tree stump.
At the crossroads of history, forged by centuries of conflict, is a place once believed to be the center of the world. Jerusalem. National Geographic Entertainment invites you to explore a land cherished by billions. For the first time on the world's largest screens, experience this ancient city through the stories of people who call it home. A mosaic of cultures and beliefs. Ancient rituals. Secrets buried deep underground.
As we can see in this footage of ancient Masada, which is an ancient fortress built on top of a petrified giant tree stump which overlooks the Dead Sea. It clearly shows the importance of this location as a major energy feeding centre on the Earth grid, with evidence showing a lost human civilization who were far more highly advanced, both consciously and technologically. The local people regard Masada as a symbol of freedom. I believe Masada still serves as an important energy centre on the Earth grid, symbolising freedom, human consciousness, and even being a birthplace for the new, forthcoming golden age of peace. Let's now uncover some hidden truths and its connection with the Earth Energy Gateway at Silbury Cutting. From my many years of research on Earth energies, I believe the gateway on the grid is simply a powerful location of telluric energies, which has one or more powerful Type 4 layers, or otherwise referred to as dragon lines, passing through. It can either be represented by a man-made structure or a natural feature. The gateway serves as an entry point or gate for that particular circuit, located on the edge of a specific part of an individual circuit board on the Earth grid, controlling the flow of energy that can enter the circuit at that point. As we have seen, the lay crossing through Silbury Cutting is fed from the energy from the country of Israel, a well-known location of never-ending wars, thereby feeding low vibration energies of fear, war and destruction to the Jerusalem energy feeding centre and into the rest of the Earth grid. This deliberately intended low vibrational energy flows along this lay and many other nodes along the way, including the energy gateway cutting through this cutting. Along the path of the lay, the energy gets transmuted at many points and raises to more higher beneficial frequencies with the help of geological features, mineral types like quartz and human consciousness. These help to amplify the beneficial telluric energies. By looking at the Google image of the Silbury Cutting, it's interesting that this resembles a part of an electrical circuit board. These higher telluric energies are seen as a significant threat to the survival of the controllers. Let's just refer to these as parasites, who have deliberately stolen and hijacked the original beneficial Earth energy grid system. As we have seen, all the locations in this video have had some kind of major earthworks done. Why is this? One of the main reasons is earthworks, including activities like quarrying and mining, as well as the destruction of nature. These are ways that parasites disrupt the beneficial energies into lower vibrational frequencies, which these parasites feed on. I believe that gateways are used in a similar way to control the frequency and energy flowing into certain areas of the Earth grid, deliberately preventing and controlling the higher consciousness energies from entering certain parts of the grid. Energy gateways do this by either transmuting or redirecting the flow of these beneficial energies to other locations along the grid. This is achieved through many ways such as geometry, minerals, structures, and even through subterranean tunnels and shafts. So, could this be a reason why the triangular ley formation is connecting the majority of the national parks, deliberately being redirected to areas where there is less human population, reducing the chances of the collective awakening? I believe this is the case, guys, so I would strongly suggest going to and spending more time in places like national parks and other natural open spaces which are close to where you live. After all, they certainly do help us to raise our levels of consciousness and make us feel re-energized. Let's now try to get a better understanding of the energy flow through gateways. As some of you guys may already be aware, Earth energy grid resembles that of an electrical circuit board. With this in mind, let's use this as an analogy to explain the purposes of gateways. Who remembers in secondary school or 6th grade during physics learning about logic gates on the electrical circuit board, such as the AND, or NOT gates? Logic gates can be found on many digital devices like on your laptop and your smartphone. These logic gates are also referred to as switches. Let's watch this video clip for a quick, simple explanation. And whilst watching, do bear it in mind with the Earth energy grid and how the gateways are used in similar ways on the Earth grid, controlling the type of energy that is permitted by the parasites. In my opinion, it is very likely that electronic circuits were born from an idea taken or stolen from the beneficial Earth energy grid.
If you've never heard of a logic gate before, or if you just want to know more about them, then basically a logic gate is the fundamental building block to digital electronics. A logic gate can be used to activate an output based on its input conditions. Now, most logic gates consist of 2 inputs and will give 1 output depending on the condition of its inputs. So for this example, I have an AND logic gate. And what this means is it will give an output if input 1 is high and input 2 is high. And what do I mean by high? Well, by high I mean above 0 volts or above its logic high threshold. Now, for this logic gate and most other logic gates, a logic high is 5 volts. A logic high can be 3 volts or any other voltage which can be specific to any type of logic gate. But for this example, to keep it simple, this logic gate is set to have a logic high voltage of 5 volts. A logic low is generally 0 volts or near to 0 volts. So basically this logic gate has 2 inputs and the output is connected to an LED. So the output of this logic gate is the positive side and then it's going to ground. So before you ask any questions, don't get confused. This is it's a circuit simulator, so how you see it here is a very simplified version of what it how it would actually be set up. You would see a power supply there as well. So we would clearly have a power supply with a positive and negative on the output. But this is a very simplified circuit, so don't get confused by that. Just focus simply on understanding the logic gate side of it. So we're going to play this circuit, and as you can see, no current is flowing through the LED on the output. It's not letting any current flow through. And that's because our logic inputs to this logic gate are completely off. Both of them are on a logic low, or 0 volts. Now if we turn one of the logic inputs on, nothing happens still. And that's because this is an AND gate. So what it requires is both input 1 and input 2 to be active for a logic output, or for a logic high to occur. So if we then enable the second logic input, we get a logic high because input 1 and input 2 is active, and therefore our LED on the output now lights. So that is the basics of an AND logic gate. Let's go and have a look at the OR logic gate. You can probably guess what's going to happen with this one. If we play this circuit, we have the same setup, except this is an OR gate. We have exactly the same inputs, so we have 2 inputs and 1 output. But because this is an OR gate, if I enable one logic input, we already get a logic high, and we get an output to our LED on the output of the logic gate. And this is because it's an OR gate, so for an output from our logic gate, we only need a logic high, or one of the inputs, to be active. So input 1 or input 2 can be active. What about if we activate both of them? Nothing changes, because one of them is still active. It's an OR gate, so it doesn't matter if both of them are active. It's just if one of them is active, then we get a logic output. If we disable both of them, neither channel 1 or channel 2 is active, so we don't get an output.
As we have seen in this video, gateways and nodes can also be used as communication channel, where rituals and paranormal activities often take place at these locations. I shall be doing further videos on this subject in future videos. It is now time to stop giving and feeding those parasites your energy. Take back your power, your God-given rights, and everything else they have taken and stolen from us. They have no true control or power, only what you give them. No matter where you are in the world or your beliefs, remember the power of the human heart. Take back your power by the Holy Trinity of the human spirit, pure consciousness, and true unconditional love. Everything starts from just one person, and that is you. Simply by focusing and raising your own levels of consciousness each day and living in the frequency of unconditional love. Once you reach a certain level of consciousness, you will no longer be affected by fear and other low vibrations, as it will not be a match to your personal vibrational field. Then you shall start to observe the real truth, as well as being protected from those other energies. You have the power as a sovereign being of unconditional love. Start living and sending out the frequency of love. Those parasites who think that they are in control, they will not know how to respond. Watch them start running away like cockroaches in the dark room when the light is switched on, as they fear what they cannot control. They are by no means exempt from God's law of karma and cause and effect. Everything starts coming back to them, as they are now starting to see. Any fear and destruction they try sending out shall start to instantly be returned to them, multiplied 1,000 times, contributing to and leading to their own ultimate destruction. They are at the end of their cycle. We are just starting to see the birthing of a new golden age, uniting the entire human race and nature. Human consciousness and nature are two of the most powerful forces on the planet. Together with nature, we rise and stand tall. Love, peace and joy to you all. Thank you for watching.